Today, we're going to make a cream cheese pound cake. Yum! Hello, this is Gloria Donahue with Nana's Cookery. And you know what time it is? It's mask time. You know, YouTube's last forever, the films. So your great-grandchildren will say, why did that lady have a mask on? And you can tell them the story. It's a long, sad story, but I hope we're coming out of it. This is being filmed in May of 2021, and the world is looking better, and I hope the world is better for you. We're going to be making a very simple cake today, but it is delicious. And it only takes cream cheese, butter, sugar, eggs, flour, vanilla, and a cake pan. We're going to be making the cake, and if that's what you tuned in for, I'm going to wave my hands like this, and you'll know I'm starting the recipe. But I want to bring everybody up to date who has been so kind to me over the years. About 2 years ago, my husband and I moved from our house to a retirement community, as you would say, a home. Now, before you start to feel too sorry for me, you can look around. It's a large 2-bedroom, 2-bath, sunny location with a balcony in a wonderful community called Ann's Choice in Warminster, Pennsylvania. They have a library, multiple restaurants, a theater, a gym, a pool, everything. So we made the move. We sold our house where we lived for almost 50 years. Unfortunately, my husband's health continued to go down, and he could not take dialysis any longer, and he passed away in September. I know many of you have followed our journey, and I cannot tell you how much I appreciate going to the computer in the morning and seeing a comment, "Hi Nana, how are you?" Or, "We made the cookies and we loved it." It has meant the world to me through these years, and I thank you very much. Now we're ready to bake. This is a cream cheese pound cake. I have written in the cookbook, Fabulous, because I got the book, tried it, and really loved it. A pound cake is a dense cake. You don't cut big pieces of it like a layer cake. You cut thin pieces, but it is delicious. I'm only making half a recipe because the full recipe would fill a tube pan serving 12 to 16 or a big bundt pan. I have what I call a half bundt pan, and it's wonderful because you can just half a recipe and it's perfect because most of our families are smaller than serving 12 to 16. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to cream our butter and our cream cheese. And you know, we've spoken before, creaming is not just the same as mixing. It's giving a good hard term until it's really nice and creamy. So we're going to start with 6 ounces of butter. I've cut it into smaller pieces because it's always better to cut something into smaller pieces so that it can become a homogeneous mix much sooner. So there's our butter. And I realize I didn't cut my cream cheese, but it is soft. Remember, I should have said soft butter, soft cream cheese. Don't ever try to cream butter or cream cheese without bringing it to room temperature. Not hot, but room temperature. So we're going to mix it, but then we're going to let it go for a while so that it becomes nice and creamy. Now to continue, we're going to add our sugar slowly to this mixture. It's well creamed, and that is 1.5 cups of sugar. Again, remember, we're doing half a recipe. The sugar is now incorporated into the cream cheese and the butter. And the next thing we add is the egg yolks. And there are 3 egg yolks. They are brought to room temperature. Just like butter and cream cheese, whenever you're going to be doing something with eggs, if you're going to beat them, you want them to come to room temperature. So just take them out a little early. And I'm going to add these 3 egg yolks sort of one at a time and just let them be incorporated. Our egg yolks have gone in nicely, and now we're going to add the flour. Again, half a recipe, it's 1½ cups of all-purpose flour. And remember, when you add that to a batter, flour can spatter up. So you want to make sure that you're doing it at a very low temperature and just put the flour in a little bit at a time. Prior to adding flour, you can overbeat butter, sugar, even the eggs, and it'll probably be okay. But once you start to add flour, you want to do as little as possible so that your cake won't become tough. Now you'll notice I really did no scraping with this because my beater has a flange. It has a rubber flange around the outside. So it is constantly going around that bowl, keeping that well mixed in with the regular mixture. If you don't have such a beater, then you would probably be scraping more along the side because you want to make sure that everything is incorporated. Now we're just going to add a little bit of vanilla. Vanilla makes everything taste better. So this is just a ½ teaspoon. Now I'm actually going to take out this bowl and use another bowl because I'm going to beat the egg whites. If you can afford it and you have a stand mixer, it's really good if you have an extra bowl. I stack them together. I just put a folded paper towel in between so that they both fit on the mixer. But it's very handy because if you bake, there's lots of times where you're going to be needing 2 different bowls. And so it's much easier if you have that extra bowl. The other thing I should have mentioned at the beginning, before you make anything, be sure you have all the ingredients. Sometimes you think you have it and you go to use it and maybe someone in the house finished it. And so you don't have it. So if you're starting to do anything, just sit down, go through all the ingredients and go through all the instructions. Sometimes you'll go to do something and then when you start, you think, oh, it said it was supposed to be marinated for an hour. Well, always look at the entire recipe before you start. Make sure you have the equipment, make sure you have the ingredients. And again, if it needs to be brought to room temperature, make sure you take out your butter, your cream cheese, or your eggs, whatever you need so that when you get everything together, you'll be able to do it successfully. Now we're going to beat our egg whites, and there's 3 of them. Again, they're at room temperature. And egg whites are really going to grow as you beat them. And so you want to make sure the bowl is absolutely clean, absolutely dry, nothing else in it, or the egg whites may not do well. The different thing about this pound cake is the beaten egg whites. Whenever you see a cake recipe that has the eggs separated instead of just an egg, and it has beaten egg whites, that cake is going to be lighter. It is going to be lighter in taste. That's one thing I love about this pound cake. It's not as heavy and dense. It's certainly solid like a pound cake, but it really is good. These are our 3 egg whites beaten up, and you can see how large they are now. You don't want to go too far with it because you don't want them to be dry and then they won't really fold in well. but you want them to get that nice stiff peak. The most often that you would use beaten egg whites is probably making a meringue. And at some point before they get fully done, you would be adding slowly sugar to make your meringue. But I'm going to fold this into the other mixture. Now folding is combining, but you want to keep the mixture light. So when you put the egg whites in, first of all, I'm going to take a pile of them and just sort of stir it in, because that will lighten up that cake mixture. And now I'm going to put the rest of the egg whites in. And folding is not the same as stirring. People do it differently. This is the way I do it. I go down in the middle and I come up on the side. I turn it, I come down in the middle and come up on the side. And I keep on doing that until everything is combined. So let me get the rest of the egg whites in there. Well, our pan is all ready. It's been buttered and floured, and then you can just tap out. I just sort of let the flour go around, then just tap it over the sink to get that excess flour out. You do want it to be buttered and floured because you can see all the grooves here, and you certainly want the cake to just come out of it nicely. So we're going to put the mixture in. The egg whites have been incorporated, and as you can see, it lightened up the cake quite a bit. If you'll notice, there was no baking powder in this, no baking soda. It is the eggs that are going to make it rise. And you just distribute the batter around the pan. I make a lot of, especially when I was baking a lot, I make a lot of cakes in an 8-inch square instead of a 9 by 13, a half a recipe or a half of a bun in this, because so many of the cakes, they're beautiful, but they're so large. And if you just want to have a nice dinner dessert, it's just too big a cake. So I think this is perfect. We're now going to put it in a 350 oven. Now, the instructions say an hour, but of course that was for the whole cake. So I don't know whether it's going to be less. When it comes out, I'll tell you how long it took. Well, our cake is out of the oven. I tested it, believe it or not, with an unbent paper clip, because I can't find my cake tester. Sometimes you have to look around for things and use something else. I'm going to let it sit for about 5 minutes before I turn it outside to cool fully. Our bundt cake has cooled enough that I think I can turn it over onto a cooling rack. And this is a cake that, again, what's the bottom becomes the top, because that's going to be the more decorative part of the cake. Now, when I serve this, I'm just going to serve it with a dusting of 10x sugar on it. You could make a little glaze if you want. You don't really need a whole frosting, but I think just a sprinkling of confectioner sugar would be nice. It can be used as dessert. It can be used as a nice thing with tea or with coffee, but I think you will enjoy it. Ta-da! Thank heavens it worked. It's always a little scary when you turn something out, but you can see it's a pretty little cake, and it's just going to have enough pieces. You can enjoy it with the family for dinner, but you can even freeze it if you'd like to. It's been so much fun to have you in the kitchen, and we'll show you a picture with sugar on it so you'll know. Bye-bye.